Greetings, Masandawana. We are back with another installment of the Yellow Corner as we bring you a very much anticipated preview or a preview of a very much anticipated match. Mamelodi Sundowns as we travel to Mbombela to take on TS Galaxy in the Dstv Premiership on Wednesday night in game week 17. Rabs, how are you?
Jimnati Aizwena.
Hey, I'm tired, but yeah, it's fine, man. Uh, let's start on the events the weekend, man. We made it through to the Champions League quarterfinals, obviously, but we cemented the top position over the weekend, man. Congratulations once again to the team, man. Sometimes we take it totally for granted, but yeah, congratulations to the boys, man. Now that we've made it and we know who we most likely to face, of the three between Experience, Yanga, as well as Simba, who would you like to take on in the quarterfinals? I just want one team. I want Simba. I want them to try this nonsense that they try every time they play at home and in the Champions League, where they intimidate and become terrible hosts. I want them to try do that with us in the Champions League. That's why I want them.
I think now I'm ready to face anyone. I think whoever that we are going to get in the knockout stages, I believe we can win against them and proceed to the semi-finals. But I want Esperance, man. I don't know why, but we haven't played them in a while. I think the last time we played them, it was in 2016 and 17 season and in the group stages. So I think I want to go in the North Africa. I think a victory in North Africa, man, tastes better than a victory like anywhere else, man. So I want us to go in North Africa and knock them out, man.
Yeah, North African tears, man, they taste different, man. But okay. I was joking on my reason of wanting Simba. I do not mind any of the two Tanzanian teams. I think traveling to Tanzania it's much easier than going to North Africa. So at this time of the season, I want us to cut down on things that like traveling, because traveling to Experience might mean we go to Europe and connect from there. Traveling to Tanzania, it's 4 hours. We are in and out, man. But yeah, we'll talk about that after the draw. Let's talk about the game, Rabs. Maybe because before we get into the game, let's touch on this subject. Yeah, what's been happening in the last few weeks between Coach Sid Ramovic as well as Coach Ulani. There's been a bit of, actually not even a bit, a lot of back and forth, that's been happening, and yeah, everyone is looking forward to this game just because of that, when I'm boxing before a big bout, the fights of the ring fights, yeah, exchange of words and stuff like that. We've seen something similar to that, but I want, maybe when you don't have to talk about it, I'm gonna talk about this and I'm gonna be a bit long, ne? And I'm gonna talk about what I heard from both coaches' mouths, not what the other one said. The other one said in private, in their private conversation. I'm not gonna talk about it, but I do not have evidence of that. Ne? I will talk about where I think this started. Ne? I think this started the Culling Black Label semi-final open day before Amazulu played TX Galaxy. Ne? Uh, Ramovic had a lot to say, and I think this is where it started. Ne? I could be wrong, but I think this is where it started. Ne? He had a lot to say. I mean, you can, if you want to, you can go to Prime Sports with Mahlatse to watch that this thing that I'm talking about, that open day press conference that I am talking about. There, in the 8th minute, yeah, that press conference, open day, he said, I quote, but we don't find any excuses like coaches do. Example, when we won against Sundowns, what was the excuse from the opponent again? What was the excuse from the coach from the opponent? He didn't play with 7 players. So how is this the respect for the players that played national players? And then he went on about a few things, and then he mentions he says he mentions Mendieta and says, how much did they pay for him? 12 million. Note that. Ne? He mentioned figures there. Ne? And he goes on, and you have Zungu. You have a lot of other international players, and come with that excuse to disrespect my staff, my players, myself. The next line that I'm going to mention is very important. I'm still quoting him. Ne? I think a good, strong coach will not find an excuse. He will say, fantastic job from Galaxy. They did a... where am I now? He will say, fantastic job from Galaxy. They did a fantastic game plan. They beat us and show respect. He went on to say a few things and then ended with, we are very happy to win against Sundowns, because the first time we won against it, it was we played Catenaccio, where I can not understand Catenaccio. Now it's the 7 players. I can promise that we will win against them when we play them. That's what he said in that open day. Ne? So I will start Katabayan, Tom. Yeah, respecting, because he basically said Hulani disrespected his players by complaining about missing 7 players. Ne? I think he's a fine one to talk when it comes to disrespecting your own players, especially in the media. Nedbank Cup Media Day a few two years ago, ne, he was asked about young Apeneteto's absence in the team, ne? And he mentioned he went on to throw the young boy under the bus and said, young players after 4 or 5 games, they start thinking they are Kibo Messi and his friends hyped him up. Ne? If you really respect your players so much, and a teenager at that, you protect him, and you say to the media, no, the boy is still young, we need to take care of him, not throw him under the bus and say he starts thinking he is Messi. Imagine his friends off the field start calling him Messi, not because of the good things that Messi does, but because the coach says that. What does that do to that boy? So for him to say Hulan doesn't disrespected his players, and then Liena, he throws his player under the bus like that. And then he mentions Tabaya Chelete. He mentions, he says Sundowns bought Mendieta for 12 million. Why is he talking about finances? It's other clubs that have absolutely nothing to do with his club. There are so many things that are happening at Galaxy. And Coach Gulani mentioned in one of the post-match press conference last week, what if we start talking about that leaked audio? For those who want to listen to it, search leaked audio, TS Galaxy, and then it will take you to that link. You'll find it here for post, where they were talking about player non-payment of salaries to players and staff early last year. This was after they came back from their international trip to Turkey, a trip that the players didn't want to take because they were asked for 20% of their salaries for this trip to happen. They eventually settled on 10%. And then when they came back, there was an issue, non-payment of the salaries. Imagine coaches talk about that, and when they talk about his team, because he's quick to talk about the financial issue, financial things to other teams. And then when they played Amazulu in January, when they beat Amazulu, early last year. He was asked about this issue and non-payment of salaries, and he said it's not true yet. When you listen to the leaked audio, he was there in the meeting when all this was when the players and staff had a meeting to with regards to concerns and non-payment of salaries. So I find it really funny for him to be mentioning the salary, mentioning press tags about that have nothing to do with him. Ne? And then he says Hulan disrespected him in that post-match interview. Mobile, yeah, when they beat us in the cup, because he mentioned 7 players, he mentioned all those other things. Do I think that Sundowns should have beaten TS Galaxy? Yes, I think any lineup where Sundowns should beat TS Galaxy. But you take 7 regulars out of your starting lineup, fluidity, you lose a lot of if your fluidity. And in that intro, he says, I think a good, strong coach will not find an excuse. Is he saying when insinuating a record-breaking coach, a championship-winning coach, an African Football League winning coach is not a good, strong coach? Is he saying Roland is not a good, strong coach? Is that respecting your colleagues? Is that when he listens to himself, that's him sounding like he's being respectful, yet he's talking about not being respected. And I will mention some of the things that Rulani said. In that post-match interview, after the game, Kaling, when they knocked us out, interview, and in the first minute of that interview, Rulani says, let me be gracious and first congratulate TS Galaxy on progressing to the next round. That's what Rulani said. And then on the issue of Catenaccio, I don't know why he's so mad about it, because Rulani was asked about the game overall, and then he tries to break down to the media. This is how I saw it. This is how I feel the opponent set up, and it's not a bad way you use Catenaccio. No, I'm the coach. I'm telling the media. I think this is why we struggled to beat them. They did 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if you go back to post-match press conference, you can find it on Masanda Wana fan vlog of that game here, Catenaccio, where they beat us as 0-1 at Loftus. I will quote a few things that Rulani said in that press conference. In the first minute of that press conference, Rulani said, very well coached side. Very well coached side. That's, to me, that's someone giving credit to the opponents. 7th minute, he says they are a very complicated side, and they are very complicated and well coached side. There's an Italian way of defending that Sashi and them used in the past employed. They employed what we call the Catenaccio, and then he explains what the Catenaccio is. And then he says, playing against a team that is good and well coached. What more credit does he want? If Rulani said all those things, so I'm really baffled by this guy. But I think, I started seeing the red flags cut this guy when we played them a few seasons ago, and I think it's in the game where we beat them 2-0. I think Mbata got a red card for 2 very dangerous tackles on Mkhulise as well as Shalulile. And I can't remember it was when he was walking off the field or there was a scuffle during the course of that game before or after the sending off. As Steve went and gave a show one of the players at Galaxy just to come down. I could have been him, but I can't remember. And this guy on the touchline, you could hear him through the mics, the Super Sport, saying, why are you, don't talk to my player? Why are you talking to my player? And we all know Steve, man, that's the type of person that he is. Sereno once got the red card, golden arrows in a cup game. He did the same. He spoke to Serenos. That's the type of person that he is. So yeah, man, I've been talking for a good long time, man. Perhaps I'm not sure if you want to add anything with regards to that, man.
Now, if I add something, man, I'll be too controversial, man. But I would like to, I, I would like to say something, man. I think this guy comes from Europe, which is a continent that is better developed than us in terms of football and resources. And you come to South Africa, where the development it's growing a little bit slow, and maybe him coming from Europe, he thought when I get to Africa, I'll be one of the best coaches, or whoever is the best at that moment. I'll eliminate him basically. So a young coach and a black coach as Rulani doing very well, winning trophies, playing a beautiful football, and getting credit from all over the world. I think maybe it doesn't sit well with him, man. I think Rulani, man, you listen to the journalists from Europe, recently went to
Mm.
Brazil. So I think those kind of things are him really sharp. So, and I think he envy Rulani's maybe success or style of play. Hence those comments, man. So I think, like Rulani said, Boskepe and Pramashati, they should write about him and give him more attention, and that's what he wants, man.
Yeah, man. With all this, ne, is there a danger of losing focus on the match from both sides, And do you think their performance against Spurs showed their minds were not in that game, already in the Sundowns game? And because they didn't look themselves, they're a very good team. They've been playing really, really well, But in the game, yeah, Spurs, they were not themselves. Do you think there's that danger, yeah, Lorona maybe playing the occasion for a lack of a better word and not playing the game?
Yeah, and I think that may come into place. But them losing against Cape Town City, I don't think it was a matter of being too focused to play Sundowns. I think they were bad, man, on that day, man. I think Cape Town Spurs was a better side. But I think for us, I think we need to play the game. We need to leave everything that happened on the media. We need to leave it outside, man. And also, like we lost against them in the telecom, they knocked us out. If you're going into the game seeking a revenge, that's where you might lose the game. Go there to play the game like any other game you have played previously, because of if you're going there for a revenge, man, things might not go your way because of you are not playing for you're not playing to win, but you are playing for a revenge. So I think Lorona, for us, our mental state should be in a good mindset, so that we play the game, we don't play what has happened in the media. So I think Runali needs to sharpen the mind of our players, man. As much as a lot has happened in the media, but the focus should be on the game and winning the game and collecting 3 points. And we are not doing it for Rulani. We are doing it for our team to win 3 points and extend the gap, man.
Yeah, no. Last week when all this was happening, I got way too emotional about this. I wanted blood. I wanted to see bad things happen on Wednesday. But I think you've summed up perfectly. We need to take it like any into a game, because last week I'm thinking, what, Ulani must play that last sentence here, higher, yeah, where he said, next time we play Sundowns, we'll beat them. And but they never leave that aggressive player, But you eventually end up losing your head and making mistakes when you like that.
Yeah.
So I think they should take it like any other game, man. They are currently seventh on the log. Played 17 games. They've won 7 of those. They drew 3. They have they lost 7. Their goals for ke 17, goals against 14, goal difference. I wanna ke 3. They currently on 24 points. How would you sum up their season so far? Because now I think they have had a really, really a good season so far. I mean, they reached a cup final. They are into the last 16. Yeah, Nedbank. They are currently seventh in the top eight, and you'd expect all the teams that are above them on the log to be above them. So I think they're having a very good season. You take into consideration they made it to a cup final. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think they've done decent, quite decent. But you look at what their coach Chota Tadibua on the media, and you look at their stats, man. Like the entire balance, man. Like the coach is saying a lot, but oh, the stats, man. Hey, it is poverty, man. But I think them reaching,
The stats are louder than the coach.
yeah. So I think being number seven in the PSL, I think it is a good position. They just need to maintain that standard and ensure that they are on the top eight. But I think them making it to the final, as much as they've lost, I think for them, I think it was a positive because of the last time. I don't remember the last time they played a cup final, or it was against Kaiser
The
Chiefs
last time
when.
they played against cup final, they won it against a certain a big team from Soweto.
Yeah, so I think they've done a decent, man. So I think being number seven, they just need to maintain that position and ensure that season fella they are go to beat team.
Yeah, man. What do you expect from both sides, perhaps in this match?
I think for Chess Galaxy, because of the last time we played them in the Telcom, I think they scored two early goals within a short space of time. So I think in this game, because of it is their home game again, I think they will push to get an early goal and try to manage their scoreline. I think the last time we played them, we played 2-2 in the Telcom. I think they scored early, but they failed to manage the game. I think in this game, if they score early, they want to manage the game and ensure they protect their scoreline. And I think against Sundowns, I think in defense they should do better, man. The goal that they conceded against Cape Town Spurs, they were very poor, especially I think the first one where Sunoka was dragged out of position, was too wide, and he left his partner alone inside the box, and they were punished, man. And I think in this game, as much as they have done very well offensively without Mbunjan, but I think in this game, Mbunjana will be needed in terms of, that bite, that aggression, and also his ability on the ball as well. I think against Sanders, a player like Mbunjana will be needed to also protect Mvelase, who's playing as a midfielder this season. And we know that Ko Galante he was a right back. So I think the guidance of Mbunjana in the midfield, I think it will be needed. And one thing about them is that they play that unexpected long ball behind the defense. Yeah, the goal they scored against Golden Arrows, it was a ball played behind the goalkeeper, played behind the defense, between the defense and the goalkeeper, and Velas managed to flip the ball and they scored. And also, I can't remember, it was a long ball from the goalkeeper or one of their centre backs where it was played behind the defense of Cape Town Spurs, and Nokovic managed to chest trap the ball and he was fouled. So I think we might expect that long ball behind the defense of Sundowns, because of breaking Sundowns in the middle might be tough. So I think playing long balls behind the defense might work for them, because of also up front they have a speed of Mujela, Sibelebele, and Mbata. So I think the danger might come from those long balls. And I think their strong point, I think it is Lechuenyo. He's overlapping and he's delivering in terms of crosses. I think he has done very well in terms of assisting and adding numbers up front as well, man.
All right. Narabs, I think I expect Sundowns to be aggressive in terms of taking the game to Gallants and obviously be way above them, ball possession. I think they will look to hit us on the break because of the pace that they have up front. Got that front three that you mentioned. I think Vidal is going to be very, very key for them, because everything goes through him. He's the link between the middle field and the offensive line. So he can get between the lines, he can drop deep to receive and move and progress the ball to the final third. They recently started playing a double pivot, yeah, Mvelase Likiba, both who are what do you call this, fullbacks. They've played fullbacks throughout their careers. Yes, they will give you energy, they will move around, run, close, shut down space, close down the passing lanes, and so forth. But because they spend the majority of their careers playing at fullback, they are so used to receiving the ball, facing the game. They can see what's in front of them. Now, at times, they now have to receive with the game, with their backs to the game, and it's difficult when you're not used to that. Velase was dispossessed in a dangerous situation immediately after the second goal their Spurs, where he was facing Golia high, and then he received them, and they pressed him and they dispossessed him, but that move didn't come up to anything. So I think Sundowns would need to set the pressing traps on Bona, especially when they're facing their goal and their backs are to the game. I think like their strength, like you said, it lies front three Bona, but on the left, Mojela centrally, and then Sibelebele on the left. And this is where I think they might hit Sundowns. I think Zuk was exceptional in our game, Litipi Mazembe. But twice in that game, there were two balls. Twice in that game, balls were played behind him. And if and do that, Galaxy, they will hurt us. Lee AB in the first half, he was beating with a ball played behind him. In the second half, he was beating with the same ball again. So I think they will look at that and try and use that against Sundowns. I think Sundowns will need to play the two lines in Ribeiro and Shalulile in this game. Put pressure on Seanoka and Mahlangu. Mahlangu is still young, he'll be prone to the mistakes, and a lot of times Seanoka will have to baby him and cover for him. So I think we need to have pressure in that area. I think Mujela is a very fast player. He can make the runs from deep. He can make the half moon runs. And I think if Zungu plays, he's going to target Zungu and play on his side. If Zungu drops to what do you call this, to middle field, I don't think he will go with him. He will look to use the space should they play, get the ball and play in transition. And Nokovic is suspended for this game. So this thing, second half, they normally bring Nokovic and then move Mujela to the left. They won't do it. And I think like you mentioned Lithuania, who has 4 league assists this season. Him bombing forward will give us yes, will be dangerous going forward, even though he didn't move a lot in this game space. But against us, if he moves, he knows the danger of leaving space behind him. And I won't be surprised if Mvelase is tasked with Ntoya to take care of Shika, to Shika everywhere. And Shika would enjoy that because Shika would drag him out of possession and leave ample space around him. So I think that's what I expect from both teams. Your lineup?
I'll obviously start Williams. I don't know why Zungu was not available for a game with against Mazembe. So my lineup is Dunyela right back, Kegan right center back, Lubusa left center back, and Lunga is my left back. Then Tebo in the middle. Then in front of him, I'll have Alande and Isquevel. I'll start him in this game. Then my front will be Zwane, Shalule, and Ribeiro.
Okay. I have Williams, I have Grant, I have Zuso, I have Lunga, I have Mukwena, I have Alande, I have Mudiba. I won't be surprised if Squivel start because he didn't get any minutes at all weekend, and Ribeiro and Shalule up top. Last preview, we forgot to do the score predictions. Score prediction?
I think we'll win 1-0.
I think we'll win 1-2, even though, man, I want us to smash this thing, clean sheet records or least number of goals conceded, man. Yeah, that's that Masanda Wana. That's yet another preview. Yeah, the yellow corner. The next time you will see us will be on Thursday. Yes, we preview our game week 18 of the Dstv Premier League when we host the Chili Boys, Chipa United. Until then, sharp Masanda Wana. Sharp raps.
Sharp Masanda Wana, sharp.